Have you ever felt like no matter what you did, you just could not shake the hurt, the pain, or the negative thought patterns about something in your past? I'm Mary Morrissey, author of 2 best-selling books, No Less Than Greatness and Building Your Field of Dreams, which became a PBS special, and I'm the founder of Life Mastery Institute. In order to live a life you love, it's important to learn what to do with the hurt, with the sadness, with the deep grief about things that may have happened in your past. And sometimes that can grow into resentment and a way of thinking that we don't deserve a life that's better than what's happened in our past. We just don't know how to shake it. There are 3 steps so that you can release and reframe what's happened to you in the past, what happened to you and what happened with you. So the first step is this one. Take a breath with me. Take a breath with me. There are things that happen in your past. There are things that happen in my past. There's things that happen in everybody's past. Everybody gets hurt. Everybody has someone who betrayed them in some way, and every one of us have betrayed someone's in some ways also. Every one of us is in a human journey. Every one of us at times is unskillful. Now I know it's easy to think, well, yeah, that this kind of unskillfulness, you don't even have any idea about this kind of unskillfulness. I do have lots of ideas about unskillfulness. I was a minister for 23 years. I've been a top trainer in the world for 15 years. So adding those together, it's over 40 years of training and helping people. And I've heard pretty much every single story about trauma and difficulty and abuse that can happen in the human experience. And I know that that kind of pain can be very difficult to release. I also know that sometimes, no matter what has happened in the past, individuals find a way to release the difficulty, not the remembrance. You will never be able to take away what happened, but you can take away its hold on you. You can take away its ability to keep you from living a life you love living. You can have had an experience without that experience having you for the rest of your life. And there's some steps to take if you want to be free of that experience pulling you back to the pain, pulling you back to the difficulty, pulling you back to how awful it was back then. And taking that weight with you, trying to live a life you love living while carrying that weight forward. It's simply not going to work because freedom and bondage don't live on the same frequency. So if you'd like to be more free and have had some experiences that were tough, but have learned from those and now you're freer to live a life you love living, then you can practice these 3 steps. The first is a step of acceptance. Okay, I've had some tough stuff in my life. I've been part of some tough stuff. Tough stuff happened. It happened. So the first step is really acceptance. No matter how much I think about it, no matter how many times I have imaginary arguments in my mind with the person that I think caused that, no matter how many times I spend time blaming myself for not knowing more or seeing it sooner or stopping it quicker, no matter how much I blame myself or someone else, it doesn't change what happened. So if you'll just take a deep breath and say, okay, it happened. It happened. The more you practice just accepting it happened, the less pull it has on you. That's the first step. It's very, very important. It happened. Everybody has some stuff that happened. It happened. Number 2 is a forgiveness process. Now, many people totally misunderstand forgiveness. They think that forgiveness has something to do with actually letting somebody else off the hook or letting yourself off the hook. It has nothing to do with that. Forgiveness is never something you do for someone else. It's always something you do for yourself. And to forgive literally means this. It's to give for a perception, this is going to ruin my life. This will forever taint the rest of my life. This is something I will never be able to forgive or get over, which is a huge constriction to the whole rest of the life that you could live. If you don't learn to forgive, which is to give for a perception of constriction and blame, yourself or others, a perception of, that was very difficult, I would never want to go through that again, and I'll do my best to make sure I never go through that again. But I release everybody who was part of that, including myself. I wish them well in the rest of their life. I may never want to see them again. And that doesn't mean you have to want to see somebody again. But you want to release them in your mind. Buddha said that to hold resentment is like picking up a hot coal, and you mean to throw it at somebody else, but the person who gets most burned is the person who picks up the hot coal. So every time I pick up that resentment, I'm actually harming me, whether I'm resentful at myself or resentful at somebody else. It happened. So to forgive means to forgive, to give for a perception of this is going to ruin my life, a perception of this is something that happened, I never want it to happen again, I'm going to do my best to make sure it never happens again. I wish every person who was involved in that well, and I free my energy to go forward now. Forgiveness is actually a shift in perception that removes a block in me to my awareness of love's presence. The power of love, the power of life hasn't gone anywhere, but the freedom of engaging with a love and a life that can take me forward does not happen on the frequency of resentment, does not happen on the frequency of self-loathing, does not happen on the frequency of rejection of others. Again, you don't have to ever want to see those people again, and you don't ever have to want to be the person you were that was part of that again. But you can forgive the learning that happened along the way. You can forgive the unskillfulness that you were part of. And you wish everyone well. Wish them well. And that gives me room now to turn my attention to what's next. Accept, forgive, and the third step. Very important. And at first, this may be challenging. It's challenging to accept it, and it's challenging to forgive it. But when you do, and then you add this third component, something magic begins to happen. And that is when you cause yourself to be grateful for something you learned by means of that experience. Maybe you learned to be more compassionate. Maybe you learned to be more forgiving. Maybe you learned all kinds of things. Only you will know. But I know this, that if you will ask yourself, what is it I have learned by means of that? I learned I'm never going to do that again. I learned. You learned to walk by falling down, and so did I. I have fallen down many times in my life, metaphorically, in different ways, through unskillfulness, through finding my way. And if life itself gives us the opportunity to learn by making mistakes, learn by getting it right, and learn by getting it wrong, then this applies to every area of our life, including our hurt and our pain and our difficulty. So as you practice accepting, it happened. I can't change that. But I can change how I'm going to be with what happened. And so I can choose to forgive everybody involved, including me. I can choose to free my energy to go forward. I can harvest the learning. It is what it is. I can forgive the past and harvest or take with me the learning. So remember that releasing the past and letting go of old hurts is actually a gift that you give yourself. And you deserve to be free. You deserve to live a life you love living. Now, if you click on the link below, I'm going to give you a gift. And that is where you can download a completely free ebook, which is called Stronger Than Circumstances. And here you're going to discover the 3 proven ways where you can overcome fear or other low vibration emotions so that you can actually create a vision-driven life, a life you absolutely love living, no matter what's happened in your past.